Welcome to the broadcast. My name is John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy, and I am excited to do another live streaming. This is day 3 days in a row. How about that? Okay, I told you I was going to be streaming, and sometimes multiple times in one day. And yes, I know what you're saying, John, you don't have your glasses on. That's right. I thought I would go without the glasses today with contacts. So I hope that's all right. But you want to know how to pass the Missouri real estate exam. You want me to get right into the material, and that's what we are going to do right now. So let's go right over to the board and take a look at some of the information we need to know for the real estate exam. And I'm not certain why my whiteboard is not on there, but we're going to see if we can get that fixed. And my apologies. I actually do not know why that is happening. I'm going to try something very quickly here, though, because should be showing my board, and it's not. So let's see if we can figure out what the problem is there. And we should be good to go now. Well, the button got pushed on another device that I have. It's not good, is it? But we are live and everything is going to be just fine. I'll make sure I've got the little tiny cam set up here, so hopefully you can see me right here. I know the lighting's not the best right here, but we should be good to go here. And I'm going to just adjust another light and see if that will help. There we go. Nothing like going live on YouTube and getting everything the way it needs to be. All right, so we are ready to go. And we're picking up, I was kind of going through the whole portion of licenses and application. And so all of these are going to be in the playlist, but I'm continuing on with this module 4. This is actually I believe it's our second live stream over this part. But I'm taking this from the rules and regulations, and it's chapter 4 of the Missouri Rules and Regulations. And you can see this is the information that we will cover right here. So we're going to kind of pull over here to the first page. I'm using a little different platform here. I went back to my other board because it's got a highlighter, and I love to be able to highlight a little bit. So we'll do this for us right here. So we're talking about licenses in Missouri. You're going to have several questions on this. We've already talked about the fact that the Missouri Real Estate Commission will only issue license to persons, corporations, partnerships, associations who are of good character. Remember that? You have to be trustworthy, truthful. It's really all about protecting consumers, the welfare and the safety of the public. So picking up with this portion is the licenses part. Now, here on the first paragraph says the commission shall issue to each licensee, that's you or me, a license in such form as shall be prescribed by the commission. So let's see what these are. The first item we need to talk about are expiration, renewal, name and address changes. So, renewal of license. We've already talked about this yesterday, but I want to go back over it. Now, if you are a broker, so let's just make sure that you understand here that if you are a broker, and I'm going to get that out of the way. Now, a broker could also mean a corporation, a broker officer, partnership, broker partner, association, broker associate, broker salesperson, professional corporation, which is a broker, salesperson, or even an inactive broker, this is the very important part here. Let me see if I can get a different color there. I'm just going to highlight this. Shall expire June 30th every even numbered year. Now we discussed this yesterday already. Remember that? So let's just kind of let me just pull this all out of the way, and let's just talk about this for just a second. Yesterday, I mentioned to you that brokers renew their license on even years. So we're in 2023. This is an odd year, so there's no renewal this year, okay? Even years, and you have to do this on or before June 30th, okay? Now, there was a little disclaimer in the notes, and you might see this on the brokerage exam, but there's a little disclaimer that said if you go through the broker school and you apply for a broker license, so remember you had the 48-hour school, broker school, and you applied between May 1st and June 30th, and remember that's even years, right? So if you applied for your license between May 1st and June 30th, they're going to issue a license to you for the following 2-year period. And we learned there was no continuing education that would be required in that situation, okay? Otherwise, you'd have to get your CE done before June 30th. So there's this caveat here. Now, brokers, again, June 30th. Salespersons, I'm going to just use a different color. Salespersons, September 30th is the drop dead date. Even years. We're still always on those even years, okay? Now, I told you to remember the S for salesperson and the S for September. So even years, and here we had this little disclaimer, just like up here, that if you are applying, and this is on the first issuance, if you were applying for a license, your salesperson's license between August 1st and September 30th, they would give you a license for the next renewal period, and again, no CE. So don't forget that. So just want everyone to be clear as we go back over here to what we're covering in this section is that, and this is for brokers, shall expire June 30th in each even numbered year. So I just gave you some additional information that we wanted to talk about there. Now, every license issued and every license renewal for a professional corporation, salesperson, or inactive salesperson license shall expire on September 30th even year. So we just covered that, right? Now, you may be asking to yourself, well, what is a professional corporation? It's just a type of way that you can vest your license, and we'll talk about that a little bit further down the road. But some people like, for tax reasons, like to create what are called limited liability corporations. And so you can vest your license as a salesperson in what is called a professional corporation. And again, we'll talk about that a little further. But I want to go back to something in that previous paragraph that we just talked about here, because they give you a lot of different items here. If you are a corporation, for example, I have a corporation called Mayfield Real Estate Inc. That's my corporation, okay? Now, a couple of things you need to know here. Number one, the corporation has a license, okay? Mayfield Real Estate Inc. has a license. I could go right down below. I have a file cabinet right below the camera here, and there's a file. Actually, I think it's in my file cabinet over there, but it's my real estate folder for my licenses. And inside that folder, there's a Mayfield Real Estate Inc. license, and there's also with that a Mayfield, or a John Davis Mayfield, who's the broker officer. So I have a corporation license, Mayfield Real Estate Inc. Remember, and we'll talk about that, a corporation is considered a single entity, all right? And then I have a broker officer license that is Mayfield Real Estate Inc. Now, just for fun, let me just show you this. So I'm going to go right out here to a new window. By the way, I'm trying to, not now, and I'm going to just type in Missouri Real Estate Commission. Okay, here we are right here. I can go to a licensee search, and you could go to licensee search right here, real estate licensee search. I'm going to click here, and I'm just going to type in Mayfield. I have several licenses. I just want to show you how this works. Now, you'll see John Davis Mayfield. There's that broker officer license right there. So if we clicked on the detail, it would say the license name, that's me, John Davis Mayfield, broker officer. And right down here, it would say the relationship information is that I'm licensed with Mayfield Real Estate Inc. See that? Which is a real estate corporation. Now I could click on detail here, and it would probably tell me that right here, John Davis Mayfield, that is me, is the designated broker right there. And if we clicked on, so there it is, John Davis Mayfield, there I am, and I'm a broker officer. See that? So what I wanted you to actually see on this scenario is that there are two licenses. The corporation has a license, and me as the broker officer has a license. See that? And I'm also considered the designated broker. Now, without confusing you too much, I just want you to see that a partnership would have to have a broker partner. If you were a part of a partnership, you would not hold your broker license as a broker officer, because that's only for corporations. But if you're part of a partnership, you would be a broker partner. If you're part of an association, you would vest your license as a broker associate. Now, what if you are not any part of an officer capacity. Then you would hold your license as what is called a broker salesperson's license. Okay, so let me give you a scenario on that. Let's just go back over here to a clean sheet of paper. That's what I like about this board here. So let's just say this is Mary. Mary's a salesperson. I'm going to give you some stuff that'll be on the test. Mary got her license on 1/1, we're just making it convenience sake, 2021. Remember, the law says that as long as Mary's had her license 24 of the last 30 months, she could go to a 48-hour broker school pass the exams, which is a state and a national, and we'll talk more about those as we get into the material. Pass the exams, apply for a license, but in this case, Mary is working for Acme Inc., a real estate office. Acme Inc., INC, that stands for Incorporated. Mary does not want to be a branch manager. Mary does not want to be an officer of the corporation. Mary just wanted to get her broker's license. So how will Mary now, since she has passed her exams on we'll call this 3/2023, because she's now been licensed for more than 2 years, right? How will Mary vest her license? Well, in this example, Mary would vest her license as a broker salesperson. Okay? If Acme Inc. wanted Mary to be a new officer or a part owner, then Mary would need to vest her license as a broker officer. But in this case, Mary just wants to be a broker salesperson. So just understand that people who do not want to be any kind of an officer or partner or an associate, they just want to sell real estate, but they want a broker's license. They surrender their broker's license in exchange for what we call a broker salesperson's license, okay? Now, Mary's still going to have to do what? Renew her license every 2 years, even years, on or before June 30th, okay? And that would be even years. All right. I think I have my chat box up, and I'm just going to go out and take a real quick look to see if there's anyone who has any questions, because you can ask those questions if you would like. And I'm going to just take a quick look at the chat box. I think I have that up somewhere here. If not, I may need to just jump right over here into RE Stream, and we should be broadcasting live now. It looks like we are. And so if you have a comment, you can type that in, and I will be glad to answer your comment. So I'll come back and take a look at that in just a moment. But for now, I'll keep moving along. So we're down here on number C. And C says to us, I'm going to go back to my yellow highlighter, if that's okay. The commission may mail to each licensee at least 30 days prior to license expiration a notice of the expiration and application for renewal of license to the address on file with the commission. Now, there is a place where we will talk about address and name changes. And sometimes people will say, well, I never got notice that my license renewal was up. They actually do them by email now as well. Well, you will notice that you need to let the commission know of any name or address change within 10 days following change of name or home address, okay? So if you move and you don't tell the real estate commission that you moved, you've actually violated part of the rules and regulations. So that will be an exam question right there, okay? Now, you'll notice that you also have to complete continuing education. Now, let's go back here. It says the commission may issue a new license for each renewal period upon receipt of a properly completed renewal application, including proof of completion of continuing education requirement, and that is the 12 hours of continuing education, which we'll talk about. All right? Now, a couple of interesting things here that we want. So, you know, a lot of this you can do online now, but in the rules, there's still information here on providing information. And again, you can hand deliver it. You can go to the real estate commission and hand deliver it before the close of business day, before the license expires. The other item here, and this is some, I don't think you'll see anything on the exam here because they're taught this is where they changed the law. Following January 1st, 2011, the licensee needs to provide proof of having submitted fingerprints. So we talked about that the other day. But again, I don't think they're going to get into that kind of question. Just understand when you get a new license as a new applicant, you will have to have your fingerprints. And we talked about that on yesterday's broadcast. Now, let's talk about this. Delinquent renewal applicants must be accompanied by a delinquent fee of $50 per month or partial month elapsed since the date of expiration. Delinquent fees are not to exceed $200, okay? So the delinquent fee of $50 per month or partial month not to exceed $200. They love exam questions here that will say something to the effect that John forgot to renew his license. He went to renew in December, and they're going to say, how much does John need to pay? Well, it's $50 per month or partial month, not to exceed $200. So don't forget that. And that's how they'll probably ask that question. Right here, this is probably something that I would take a good note of, and I'm sure you will see a question. If you fail to complete the continuing education requirements, then during the renewal period, you must submit their renewal proof of completion of the Missouri Real Estate Practice Course. What is the Missouri Real Estate Practice Course? Well, we talked about this the other day. Remember? Yesterday, for salespersons, you have to go through a 48-hour pre-license course. And remember that 48-hour pre-license course, you have to pass your state exams and you have to take a 24-hour, what's called a practice course. Right there. I can tell you, I'm going to make this in green. This is a good moneymaker for me. Right after continuing education. I don't mean that in a probably shouldn't say it that way, but there are a lot of people that don't take their continuing education on time. And license renewal comes up, and September 30th comes and goes, and then the real estate commission says, nope, can't renew your license. You got to go take the Missouri real estate practice course. And so they call me up and say, I'm supposed to take this 24-hour practice course. Well, you didn't take your continuing education. And I say it's a good money maker. I mean, I don't make that much money, but I do have a lot of students that fail to take their continuing education on time and then end up having to come back to my school and take the 24-hour practice course. And let me tell you what, some of these people are good agents who have deals in the pipeline. Well, if your license expires, you cannot practice real estate, period. You're not licensed. I told you my story yesterday about a broker who actually forgot to renew their license. And so they, as a broker, had to take the 24-hour practice course. Don't let that happen. So when we go back here to what we were looking at, it tells you right here that if you fail, if you fail to complete the CE, you have to show proof of completion of the Missouri Real Estate Practice Course. Okay? This course must have been completed no more than 6 months prior to the receipt date affixed by the U.S. Postal Service. So, in other words, you got to take that course and you can't let 6 months expire. Failure of a licensee to receive this notice and application to renew from the Commission shall not excuse the licensee from the requirements for renewal contained in this rule. All right? Until a new license is procured, the holder of an expired license shall what? Not perform any act for which a license is required. You basically, if you get busted doing that, you're probably going to get in big trouble. Okay, not perform. I don't know what they would do, but you can't practice real estate. You are not licensed, okay? So don't forget that. Now, this is the part I talked about yesterday. A renewal license will not be issued until the license of the broker with whom the licensee is associated has been renewed. So if your broker doesn't renew, you can't renew. All right? Just understand that. Now, picking up the pace a little bit, fictitious names. Any broker doing business under any name other than the broker's legal name, or any entity doing business under any name other than the name registered with the Secretary of State shall first comply with the provisions of this section, and that is furnish a copy of a fictitious name within 10 days of receipt of the official registration from the Secretary of State. So, what this means is this. Mayfield Real Estate, Inc. is a fictitious name, and I have to register that within 10 days from when I got that registration with the Secretary of State. So, I couldn't do business as Fun in the Sun Real Estate. That's a fictitious name. So I could have Fun in the Sun Realty, John Davis Mayfield broker, but that's a fictitious name, so I need to register Fun in the Sun Realty with the Secretary of State's office and then make sure the Missouri Real Estate Commission gets that within 10 days. Probably see that on the broker's exam for sure. All right, again, don't forget, you can ask any questions you want. I'm looking over there, so if I see any questions, they should pop through, and I'll be glad to answer those. Now, this just makes a lot of sense with what we just talked about. A broker shall not conduct business under any other name or at any other address than the one for which the broker's individual license is issued, unless the broker first complies with that specific rule, which is, if you look at this rule right here, that's what we just talked about. So you got to, in other words, you got to give the fictitious name the information to the Real Estate Commission. If a broker changes his or her name or home address, the broker shall notify the commission in writing within 10 days after the change becomes effect. And don't let this freak you out, because it's real easy to do. You just come out here to the Real Estate Commission's website. So I'm going to go back here. We were on the Real Estate Commission's website, and there is an address change notification right there. So you can take care of any of that information right here on the website. So makes it a lot easier than what it used to be in the old days, but just want you to understand that. Now, when a broker returns his or her license to the commission, the broker must first comply with the provisions. The broker shall have 6 months in which to change status or reinstate the license. If the application to change status or reinstate the license is not made within 6-month period, the applicant will be required to complete the Missouri Real Estate Practice Course. Remember that, 24-hour course, and show proof of satisfactory completion, and you got to do all of that within 6 months. Now, what are we talking about here? What we're talking about in this scenario is this is Don. Don's a broker. Don decides he's tired of being a broker. He sends his license to the MREC. And Don says, I really don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm closing my office down as a broker. Now remember, Don could transfer his license to Mayfield, to my company, all right? To Mayfield Real Estate, Inc. I'm the broker officer. I'll put the BO. Hopefully I don't have BO, but you know what I'm talking about there. So I transfer I'm the broker officer, I'm the owner of the company, the president, and Don wants to put his license with me, and I'm like, that's okay to do that, Don, but Don, you'll need to be what? He'll need to be a broker salesperson, remember that? But in this example, Don sent his license to the MREC on 1/1/23. Don has to get that license changed within 180 days or 6 months. Otherwise, if he doesn't transfer his license in this time period, Don needs to do what? He's going to have to take the 24-hour practice course, because that 6 months has elapsed. So that's what they're talking about right here, is that if a broker, right there, if a broker returns his or her license, they need to do that within 6 months, tells you right there. And then if not, they have to take the Missouri practice course within 6 months. Writing all over the board here. Now, Don could also just put his license inactive if he wants to do that. And if Don puts his license inactive, he has to fill out a form, and that's on the website. We could go back to the website, take a look at that. And in this example, Don will still need to, he'll be an inactive broker. He will have to renew on or before June 30th. Remember, brokers have to renew by June 30th. But in this case, Don's inactive. So Don does not have to take continuing education. He just has to renew his license. That's all he has to do. Anytime Don wants to reinstate his license, he's going to have to go back and show proof of completion of the Missouri Real Estate Practice Course, and do that within a 6-month time frame, and that's the 24-hour practice course. Even though he's a broker, why does he have to take this to reinstate his license? Because he was inactive. So if he wants to reactivate his license at any time, it's not a problem. Just has to take the practice course and do that within 6 months of applying for his license. Remember, and this is a big deal for Don, he does not have to take continuing education. The only thing Don has to do is renew his license every June 30th of even years. All right? Good. Now, let's come on over here. Talking about broker, salesperson transfers, inactive salesperson. Whoops. So, a broker whose license is in good standing and who elects to operate under the supervision of a licensed broker shall first comply with the provisions. And remember, I already mentioned this, they surrender. They like that word, you surrender your broker's license to the commission in exchange for a broker salesperson's license. We're just going over what we've already talked about. A broker salesperson's license will be issued upon receipt and the required fee that's due. We'll talk about fees later. No individual holding a broker salesperson's license may have a salesperson's license under him or her. That is a test question. They love to ask that. So know that. If you're a broker salesperson, you can't have people licensed under you. Now, a broker license may be reinstated upon proper application to the commission. So if Don wanted to be a broker salesperson with me, he can do that. Remember, Don can have no licensees underneath him. No, that's a test question. If Don gets tired of being a broker salesperson and wants to go back to be a broker, no big deal. He just sends a proper application, the proper fee in, he'll be good to go. A broker salesperson or salesperson's license shall be issued only to a person who is associated with a licensed broker. Now remember, broker salespersons and salespersons have to affiliate with a licensed broker. The license of each broker salesperson or salesperson shall be mailed to the broker. A broker salesperson or salesperson cannot be licensed with more than one broker during the same time period. That, my friends, is an exam question. A broker salesperson or a salesperson cannot be licensed with more than one broker during the same time period. Now, number 3 gets into this whole bit about within 72 hours of the termination of the association of any broker, salesperson, or salesperson, a broker shall notify the commission and shall return to the commission that the licensee's license. The broker shall provide a dated and timed receipt to the licensee when the licensee submits a letter of termination to the broker. When a licensee's license is surrendered to the commission, the licensee shall have 6 months in which to transfer to another broker or change the status. If the application fee does not happen, then what? There's that Missouri practice course again. You got to take that 24-hour course. Now, let's talk about this for just a second, because this is kind of a big deal, and you really need to know about this. And the reason for that is that in this scenario, if you were working for me and I wanted to terminate you, maybe I hadn't seen you come in my office, you never stopped by, I've sent you emails, I've called you, I mean, you're gone. I've had that happen before, believe it or not, agents who've worked for me. It's like, why won't they just call me back or answer the phone or respond to my emails? And I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of Larry. I'm sending Larry's license back to the real estate commission. And so I just send Larry's license back. Well, that 72-hour clause, I have to send you a dated and timed receipt saying, hey, Larry, I sent your license back to the real estate commission. The reason that's required is because if I sent your license back and never told you, then you run the risk that if 6 months goes by and your license is sitting there at the Missouri Real Estate Commission, now all of a sudden you find out 6 months has passed and you've got to take the 24-hour course. So, you know, it just puts a little responsibility on me as the broker to say to you, I've returned your license to the Real Estate Commission. Now you automatically know, because you went through pre-licensed real estate school, uh-oh, I got 180 days to do something. Well, probably not that many now, but I've got 6 months from the time my license was sent back to either put them with another broker or put them inactive, right? And so if not, then you're going to have to go through that 24-hour practice course. Now, if you put them inactive, you have no CE to take. You still have to renew your license every 2 years. Brokers on or before June 30th, even years. Salespersons on or before September 30th, even years. But no continuing education. But whenever you want to put your license active again, you have to take the 24-hour practice course. And remember that little disclaimer in there, you have to take that course within a 6-month window of reinstating your license. So don't forget that. So the other situation is Larry could come to me and say, hey, John, I'm putting my license with Susie down the street. I want to go to work for Susie, and I want you to send my license back to the commission. Well, Larry could give me his change form and all of his information, and I could be mad. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sit on Larry's license for 3 weeks before I send it back in. No, according to what we just talked about, you have to do that within 72 hours. Okay, so don't forget that. So that's kind of just the lowdown on all of that information there. All right, so moving on here. An original license or license changing license status shall not be deemed to be entitled to engage in any activity for which a license is required until the new license is received by the broker or until written notification is received from the commission that the application is being processed. That's why a lot of times people just drive over to the commission, because you, again, cannot engage in any activity for which a license is required until that comes back. So just keep that in mind. When a broker salesperson or salesperson transfers from one broker to another without changing the license type, the licensee shall be deemed transferred at the time the properly completed application is mailed by certified, registered, or overnight delivery. So this is different. This says that when a broker salesperson or salesperson transfers from one broker to another without changing license type, it actually is deemed transferable as long, this is the key, properly completed application is mailed by certified, registered, or overnight delivery. Now, you could see some test questions on this. The new broker is responsible for seeing that the application is complete and that the application for transfer is mailed, certified, registered, or overnight delivery to ensure proof of delivery. So if you're going to do this, just make certain or make sure it's correct. And whose responsibility is that? It's the new broker's responsibility. So if it's not correct and they kick it back and you've been out practicing work, it's the new broker that could be in trouble. You might want to, now going back up there, remember this is an original licensee, an original license, or a license changing status. I know I got some stuff there. So that this second part is because you already have a license and you're transferring. That's why you can do it and not have to worry about losing any time doing business, because once it's postmarked through registered, certified, or overnight delivery, you're good to go, unless you didn't fill the application out correctly. I mean, you just want to make sure it's done right. And whose responsibility is that? The new broker. That could be on the broker's exam. So don't forget that. But I'm telling you what, I sent an application in that I thought was perfect on, this is not a real estate license application, it was something else. I thought I got everything right. And they sent it back to me and said, you missed 2 spots. And I'm like, holy cow, how did I miss those? So I just want you to understand, you need to get that right. Now, if you're the first time you get your license, or if you're changing a status, I don't know what happened there. That was weird. Original or license changing status shall be deemed to be engaged in any activity until it comes back. All right, so there's a difference between these two, and make sure you understand that. We're almost done, so we're kind of wrapping up here. So upon termination of a licensee's association with a broker, the licensee shall return all property belonging to the broker. Listings are void, so the listings stay with the broker. We've talked about that. And anything you've acquired, you got to turn all property back. That's probably an exam question there. And same thing here. That was with a broker, a licensee's association. A salesperson whose association with a broker is terminated may request the commission to transfer the license to an inactive status. The request needs to be on the right form. And remember, if you go inactive, and we'll talk about this more, there's no CE, still have to renew your license. And in this case, it's a salesperson, so it's September 30th, even years. And we remember the S for September and the S for salesperson. That's how we connect the months, right? Brokers are June. And so no CE, no continuing education. You do have to renew your license. And anytime you want to reinstate, you have to do what? You have to take the 24-hour practice course. And remember, that course has to be done. I'm going to put PRAC for practice. That has to be done within that 6-month window. So you can't, in other words, you can't take the Missouri practice course and then, a year later say, hey, I'm ready to reinstate my license. I guess we do have quite a bit more here. So that's all of that. This just really talks about a broker salesperson going inactive. Same situation there, okay? So just the same situation there with a broker salesperson that we just talked about. If you go inactive, no CE, you have to renew, and brokers are on or before June 30th, even years. And then as well, remember to reinstate 24-hour practice course. All right, I actually want to take a little bit more time on this, so I may pick back up on this section a little bit later this evening and we'll wrap this up. But for now, that's all I want to cover on this section of the tonight's course. Actually, you know what? We could wrap that up. I'm going to just see if there's any questions out there real quick before we take care of that. I don't see any questions. Let's just go ahead and see what we've got here and we can wrap this up. Most of this is not really what they're talking about here are partnerships, associations, or corporations. And, I've already kind of covered this because you have to have a separate and distinct real estate broker license before transacting business as a broker. So I actually already covered all of this, which was when I talked about Mayfield Real Estate Inc. and John Davis Mayfield as a broker officer. We talked about broker partners and so forth. I do want to cover this I do want to cover this in another area because I think that would be more important for us to do that. I personally would rather go a little bit slower and maybe erase some of the items there, and we'll go over that. So I think that's going to wrap us up for this section. As always, check us out at globalrealestateschool.com for more information, and would love to have you there. Now, I do want to say one thing here. I'm going through all of this information, and I am posting it on YouTube and it's going live on YouTube. Not all of these sessions will eventually be available for the public, okay? They will all be available for Global Real Estate School students. Or if you're watching this and you're saying, hey, John, where are the other videos for this? Well, you can get access to those, but you'll need to go to Global Real Estate School, and you'll need to look on our course where it says Missouri Real Estate Exam Test Prep, okay? And then you can find out more information about finding all of the videos and all the information. For now, I'm planning to just do these to help out, but if you're with Global Real Estate School, these are definitely included, no charge. They will be in your dashboard and you will have access to them along with all kinds of other great questions that we will go over, all right? So I only mention all of that because I want you and other people out there to tell Missouri residents, you got to go to Global Real Estate School, John Mayfield, okay? You can read the comments and the information. People who are following me, people who are going through my information are passing the state exam. and they're telling people about me after they went to another school. So I want you to start telling people Global Real Estate School, okay? So if you have any questions, reach out to us. This will be posted. I've got a playlist for this information, but at some point, not all of these will be available. You will need to go to Global Real Estate School and purchase those, okay? All right. Well, thank you so much. I may be back. Excuse me. I may be back in just, pardon me, may be back in a little bit to do some more live streaming. So talk to you soon. Thank you.